You were the one who kept things together. While other kids were just being kids, you were watching, reading the room, making sure everything was okay, making sure everyone was okay. Maybe you were the eldest. Maybe you just fell into it naturally. Maybe nobody asked you to, but somehow you became the one the family leaned on. And everyone called it a gift. They said you were so mature, so reliable, so responsible. But nobody ever stopped to ask, what was it costing you? There's a particular kind of exhaustion that responsible children carry into adulthood. It doesn't look like burnout from overworking. It doesn't look like stress from a difficult season. It looks like a quiet, bone-deep tiredness that never fully goes away, no matter how much you rest. Because the truth is, the responsible child was never just a role. It was a survival strategy. And survival strategies don't switch off when the situation changes. They follow you into your relationships, into your career, into the way you treat yourself when you finally have a moment alone. Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to have grown up as the responsible one and what that role quietly took from you without ever asking permission. Here's something important to understand first. The human brain isn't fully developed until around the age of 25. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and managing complex situations, is still being built throughout childhood and adolescence. When a child is placed in a position of emotional or practical responsibility too early, the brain adapts. It builds neural pathways around hypervigilance, constantly scanning for problems, anticipating needs, staying alert so things don't fall apart. This isn't a character flaw, it's neuroscience. The brain simply learned to survive the environment it was placed in. But here's the cost. Those same neural pathways that made you reliable and capable as a child become the source of chronic anxiety, overthinking, and difficulty relaxing as an adult. Your brain never truly learned that it was safe to put the weight down. For many responsible children, care and usefulness became deeply intertwined. You received praise when you helped. You were valued when you managed things. You were noticed when you performed the role well. And so somewhere in your developing mind, a quiet equation formed. I am loved because I am needed. The devastating consequence of that equation is that rest starts to feel dangerous. Saying no starts to feel selfish. Having your own needs starts to feel like a burden you're placing on others. Many adults who grew up this way find themselves in relationships where they give far more than they receive. Not because they don't know better, but because being needed feels like the safest way to be loved. There is a grief that responsible children rarely get to feel. It's the grief of a childhood that was quietly interrupted, not by one dramatic event, but by the slow, steady weight of being too responsible too soon. While other children played freely without worry, you were already managing, already holding things, already making yourself useful so the people around you would be okay. You didn't get to be irresponsible. You didn't get to make a mess and have someone else clean it up. You didn't get to fall apart and have someone hold you together. And many adults who grew up this way carry a sadness they can't quite name. A longing for something they never had but can't fully articulate. That is grief, and it is completely valid. The responsible child grows into an adult who struggles to ask for help, not because they are too proud, but because asking for help was never modeled as safe. They learned that they were the helper. That was their place. That was how they earned their belonging. The result is a person who is incredibly capable on the outside, holding jobs, holding relationships, holding families together, while quietly falling apart on the inside with no idea how to let anyone in. They also tend to struggle deeply with boundaries, because boundaries require saying, "This is too much for me," and the responsible child was never allowed to have a limit. Here is what I want you to hold on to. The responsibility you carried was never yours to carry alone. You were a child, and children deserve to be children, messy, carefree, unburdened by the emotional weight of the adults around them. The fact that you carried it says nothing about what you were built for. It says everything about what was asked of you before you were ready. And the most important work you can do now, as an adult, is learning something that nobody taught you back then. That you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to let someone else hold it for once. You spent so long being strong for everyone else. It is okay, finally, to let someone be strong. Before you go, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want you to think about it. What is one thing you wish someone had carried for you when you were growing up that you had to carry alone? Leave it in the comments. You might be surprised how many people are sitting with the exact same answer.